They're so close now. You're so close to student teaching. Just have what, 1-2 semesters to get through. So we're good. In science methods, I have several things that I want you all to take away from this class. Number one, how to teach science to elementary students. And that'll be, of course, the most important thing. Number two, some practice on your praxis. You know, because we've got to make sure that you're ready for your praxis to pass your science portion of that, you know, the science subtest. And last thing is, I want you to make sure that you feel more confident in your ability to teach science, or even just to understand science. Because a lot of times, for whatever reason, not all elementary ed majors feel like they're good enough to teach science, and that's so not the truth. So that'll be something else we work on, is just to kind of help you build up that confidence to let you know, you guys got this. You're going to be the smartest science person in your classroom. Remember that, all those 5-year-olds, all those 10-year-olds, even all those 12-year-olds who think they're the smartest ones in your classroom. You've got this. So without any further ado, let's take a look at the nuts and bolts. Let me move you guys out of the way. All right. So we're going to take a look at the syllabus. Let's see. Of course, that's my course outline. Hold on, guys. Again, my course outline. Let me get that. There we go. Can you guys see the syllabus? No. All right. There we go. All right, now you should be able to see it. Like I said, my office is in 302 Hunhot Hall, and you can reach me through email at any time. If this is especially true in methods, when we start doing science after school and you're teaching, or you're starting on your getting ready to finish your unit, you'll want me to respond to you faster. So do not be afraid to text me. So my cell phone number is listed on the syllabus. Don't be afraid to text. And of course, this is posted in not Google Classroom. It's posted in Blackboard. My office hours, anytime I'm here, you can come and see me. On Mondays and Wednesdays, I'm available from 2 to 3. Tuesdays and Thursdays, you can catch me before class anytime between noon and 3. I know it says noon and 2, but noon and 3, I'll be around. Fridays are by appointment only, basically because about midway through the semester, I will be working with you guys on your science teaching. You'll have lessons that you'll be teaching. Most likely, judging by this whole pandemic still affecting us, most likely you'll be Zoom teaching with the elementary school that I work next to. So St. Mary's Elementary School in Clarksburg, you'll kind of Zoom into their classes. But that's where I am most Fridays once the semester starts. If you need me, just let me know. The textbook, I have put everything you need on Blackboard. You don't have to buy a manual for me. Let's see, basic stuff, to use the West Virginia Department of Education tree to find your content outcomes, your standards, your next gen standards. I'm going to skip one down through here. attendance policy for methods. In methods, you're only allowed to miss 2 classes. We try to make it just like you would be for work, you know. So basically, in one semester, you basically get 2 sick days. Now, if you are sick, for heaven's sakes, take a sick day. If you're in quarantine and you Zoom into my class, I don't count that as an absence. So I just need to know. And of course, there aren't regular tests like you would have had in geosphere, exosphere, and biosphere. It's not like that in methods. By the end of the course, you may wish that were the case, but we do more projects. So your readings, I expect you to keep up on your readings, and I'll post them for you. You're going to have the following things to help you understand how you're graded for me, since you don't have tests, or at least you only have one major test. You have a learning board, and it's worth 20 points, and I've already assigned them to you, and we'll get to that in a minute. You have reflective exercises. You're going to be writing 5 different reflections throughout the semester. They're worth 20 points each. They have to be between 2 and 3 pages, double spaced. The double spacing should help you. Anytime it's research, though, it has to be cited. You have to use APA formatting, and all of this is listed in your syllabus. You have an after-school science teaching. And like I said, for you guys, it'll probably be Zoom teaching, but it's worth 150 points. You have a rough draft of a lesson plan that is a learning cycle, and you'll learn what that is. You have a final lesson plan. You teach. The teaching itself gets graded. And the teaching is between 30 and 45 minutes, depending on what grade level you're teaching at. You come in and we meet and discuss your teaching. And then you submit a self-critique. So that altogether is 150 points. That's going to be the biggest focus of the first month of class, is getting you ready for your science after school. I know I call it science after school, but this is your Zoom teaching. Any class activities or homework you need to be part of. Then the rest of your semester, after we get through science after school, the other really big project you have is a science unit. And of course, you have these for all of your methods classes. I don't think that's anything new. And it's worth 200 points. That'll be the bulk of your grade in my class. It has to be learning cycle based. Again, this is something that I will, teach you about. That's what our whole semester is going to be about. And I have rubrics. I've also broken this down into pieces so that you're not overwhelmed with handing in an entire unit all at once. I've broken it down into, hey, pick your topic, then submit your rationale. Then in, a few other days, you need to do an outline of what you think you're going to teach. And then, then your safety contract. So it's broken down for you so that it's more like a checklist for you. I just don't want you to become overwhelmed in April. And that's, that just happens a lot. Due to COVID, of course, everything that you work on is going to be submitted to me electronically. If you've had me before, you already know this. You hand in everything through Blackboard. And in my syllabus, it says WebEx, but that's not true. I use Zoom. That way I just have usually a better quality when we record Zoom lectures. Any Zoom lecture we have, I'll always post it on Blackboard so that you can refer back to anything that you might have missed. And then of course, there are just the normal things that we have for our syllabus. All right. The next thing I want to share is our daily activities. I'm not going to go through them, but I just want you to see how it's set up. You have a class activity. There are usually readings or resources that go with it. And then you have homework. Some of your homework is to be announced, especially because of, COVID. Some things are more pinned down than others. Excuse me. So the first thing that you guys are going to be doing for homework is a pre-test that it is not graded. And when you take it and you see that you don't understand what is being talked about, that's okay. I just want to see how we progress from the beginning of the semester to the end of the semester. You won't get a real grade on it until the end of the semester, but I will put the link up. I'll probably just send an email to all of you that has the link to a Google form. So between now and Wednesday, just take that pre-test. I think there are 18 questions on it. You are also going to be drawing a science classroom between now and Thursday. Between now and Thursday, I just want you to draw your own science classroom. I want you to pretend like you've got all the money in the world and, nobody's going to limit you in your science classroom. What would be a dream classroom that you would have to teach science in? And you're just going to take a picture of it and upload it to Blackboard for me. Now, let me stop that and go back to my other sharing. Any questions yet? Okay. All right. So when you guys are teaching science to little kids, you really want to try and connect everything around them to science, because basically it's in their everyday life. You have such a unique opportunity. Little kids love science. They absolutely love it. They want to know everything. They want to do everything. And so you're going to get them at a time when you'll have such a big impact on them. So I don't know if you guys remember some of the nature of science, but these are your learning board topics. Some of them are directly from the nature of science. So the first learning board is Abby. Do you go by Abby or Abigail?
Abby's fine.
Okay. So you're just going to kind of do an overview, and I'm pretty sure we are just going to do this online. Like you're going to design either a slide or probably just a Google slide, or however else you want to design it. And you're going to do an overview of what is the nature of science. These learning boards are very similar to ones you may have done before. Do you have them in other courses, in your other content courses? Yes, no, I see some puzzled faces. All right. So this is just like a little bulletin board that teaches what we're talking about. And the nature of science basically has an understanding. Like science is tenable yet reliable. And that means if we look at the pandemic, do you remember how Dr. Fauci would change recommendations? That's not because he was, he just keeps changing. That's because the science kept changing. It was a brand new type of virus. And so we can rely on the science, but it's going to change. And so that's what it means. It's tenable. It can change, but we can rely on science. It's hard to be in the midst of that. It's hard to watch science change that fast. You might think back to geosphere when there used to be something called continental drift. Well, nobody believed that. Nobody, they couldn't find a reason for continents to move. So it didn't mean it didn't happen. And they finally discovered that. And so, yeah, that's reliable. The science changed, but it's still reliable. So that'll be Karis. You'll have the second learning board. Number 3 is Casey. You're going to have science as a human endeavor. All that means is we would love for science to be completely objective, but the truth is we're all humans. We all have our own culture. We all have our own backgrounds. We all have our own lens through which science happens. And so it truly is a human endeavor. And so, and this is for anybody. If you ever need help trying to narrow down what your board should be focusing on, we'll hit on that when we're face to face, and I can show you some better examples. The next one is Ashley. Science relies on empirical evidence. That's pretty straightforward. You're going to show a board that teaches children how to use evidence. Empirical just means like physical, like eyes, ears, mouth, nose, just that kind of evidence. And that's what science relies on. Lakin, you're going to have board 5. Science is creative and imaginative. And so we can't take the creativity and imagination out of science. It's not just blah. You're going to show, whoops, I think Tori got kicked out. You're going to show how scientists can be creative. Then Emily, science is collaborative. We no longer think about scientists as working in isolation of each other. Science truly is a very social endeavor. You need to talk about it. You need to work together. You need to get other people's ideas. And Key, I saw her somewhere, I thought. There you are. I knew I saw your name. Key, you are going to have science is culturally and socially embedded. It's very similar to being a human endeavor. And you're going to show maybe how science is seen in other parts of the world. Like just kind of hitting science like that. Now, that's kind of the end of the nature of science, like what science is. So for my other methods maniacs, I had to come up with something else. So Tori, you're going to tackle what is the learning cycle, and you're going to teach other college kids what the learning cycle is on your board. Scotland, you have what is constructivism. So that's pretty wide open. You can narrow that down however you need to. And then finally, Caitlin, yours is also pretty wide open. Yours is we are science methods maniacs. So that'll be the very last board of the semester. I really wish we could have it physically up outside of my office, but I just worry about, if not everybody is vaccinated, I still worry about you guys, because you guys can contract it just as easily as anybody else. Luckily, I get my first round of vaccinations tomorrow, so I'm excited for me. But still, I don't want you guys being put in any kind of situation that's not safe. So when we talk about learning boards, and it is on the syllabus, these are your assignments. And I'll post this so that, you know, you don't have to always remember. Reflections for class. So, like I said, all of your reflective exercises must be in a document, you know, nothing handwritten. The reason I do these is because if we have anybody with weaknesses in writing, we really need to address that now. I cannot tell you how frustrating it is as a parent of 4 when I have, you know, notes come home from the teacher that I can barely understand. Or this is awful, but I did get a note home from one of my daughter's preschool teachers. This has been years ago, and it said, "This week we are going to make a geese." So, not a goose, a geese. So, and I am sure that that was just, you know, handwriting faster than what she was thinking. But like I said, you know, that sticks with me. I still remember that. I still laugh about that. And so with these reflections, I want to make sure that you practice writing throughout the semester and make sure that that is that's a strength of yours by the end. Anything that we have to research, I think that might be like reflective exercise, maybe number 2. Yeah. What is the learning cycle? How does it support solid hands-on instruction? Anything that you have to research like that, I expect it to be APA documented. Even if it's just like, you know, for a 3-page paper, 2 or 2.5, 3 pages, give me 1 or 2 citations, both in text and 1 or 2 references to go with it. If you don't have citations and you don't have a reference list in APA format, then you're going to get a 0. Don't get zeros on, you know, things like that. You want to save any mistakes for the unit. You don't want to pull it down before we get to that. As far as the unit goes, oh, I don't have it on my slide, but as far as the unit goes, you have to get at least a C on the unit to pass this course. Now, I work with you. I work with you throughout the semester to make sure you understand how to write the lesson plans, how to incorporate learning cycles. So, you know, at any time, early on, real early on, at any time, I want you to think about what you understand and what you don't. And please come to me. Finally, if anybody has a disability accommodations that they need to meet with me about, please send me an email. That way we can start accommodations right off from day 1. And that way it's not an issue. Let me stop sharing there. Whew, that's a lot. It's a lot for the first half hour of this class. Usually when you guys come in, we meet in room 302 in Hun Hot Hall. On your, when you signed up for the class, I know that it also mentions downstairs. That is only if we had physically been able to teach science after school. And then we set up for 2 classrooms, we get to record each other. It's so much more fun when we have the little kids right there with us. And that way I can watch you guys interact with kids. I get to see your classroom discipline, things like that. The way we're going to do it is I have a 1st grade teacher, a 3rd grade teacher, and a 4th grade teacher who have all agreed to let us Zoom with their classes. And you're going to teach, for first grade, it's usually a half-hour lesson. For the other 2 grades, it's a 45-minute lesson, or around that. It's a little bit harder for you guys to get timing when it's a Zoom lesson. But you will be Zooming with their class, and I'll get like numbers to you, and we will get together and we plan this. And we take the first month to really understand what the learning cycle is and how to plan that kind of a lesson. So that'll be something that once we're here together. Do you guys all come back next week? Oh, yay. Yay. I'm so glad, because this is hard. But that's what you guys will be doing, is learning how to Zoom teach. And I go to the elementary school, and whatever things you create for them to use as a lab, I take it with me to the elementary school, and the teacher and I pass out the material and get the kids on Zoom and everything like that while you teach the lesson to the whole class. It's challenging, but we did it last semester, and we will do the best we can this semester. The one thing I will tell you is that I know I'm not as hard on that, simply because it's so difficult, like I said, to watch you guys manage discipline, because basically I'm managing your discipline, and I'm managing your timing, because sometimes you can't hear the kids and I have to repeat what they're saying. It's not the best, but it's what we have right now. So with that in mind, I want to make this more interactive. So I will go in the order that I see you guys in. Hold on one second. So here's what I want you to think about. I'm going to put this in the chat. Maybe, where's my chat? There it is. So I want you to think back, that it's in the chat right now, to your own science experiences as students. Don't name teachers. For heaven's sakes, don't name teachers. Just because I'm old and I know a lot of them. But I want you to think about your best experiences in science, and maybe your worst experiences. It doesn't even have to be in science. Maybe it's just in general as a student. And how did your past experiences color your ideas about teaching? And for your reflection, you can concentrate more on science. But for right now, I just want you to think about your experiences as an elementary student. Anytime between K through 6, and you can talk about high school, but how does that shape the way you think about teaching? And what makes you the most nervous about, if you're nervous, what makes you the most nervous about teaching science? I'm going to kick it off, simply because I'm the oldest. When I was in first grade, I will tell you right now, as a little kid, I was very shy, which might be hard to believe right now. But I was very shy when I was little. Like, we are talking, I used to miss between 45 and 50 days a year. If it was like it is nowadays, my parents would have been in jail because I was just so afraid of school. And I went to a place called Jacksonburg Elementary School for a few years. And there were only 20, maybe 22 of us in my class in the whole first grade. There were like 22 of us. But we had a teacher who hated teaching there, and she never let us forget it. Our school was in the middle of the woods. And when I say that, I mean, like we went out the back door and we could play in the woods. Like that was our recess. You can play in the woods or you can swing on the swings. We always played in the woods. There was a chicken coop out the other side because the farmers owned that side of the school. But anyway, she hated teaching there. And she, it was in the mid 70s, late 70s, and they were allowed to hit us. And that was terrifying to me because there were certain kids that she didn't like and she would hit. And so that really bothered me. And I think about that even now. My youngest had the choice of who to have as a teacher. She was still teaching. And I was so afraid of that woman to this day. I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And so it didn't matter whether she was a good teacher in the classroom. If a child is afraid of you, or if a child is afraid of school, they are not going to learn. It is always relationships before content. You have to build trust within your class. And that's not always easy. Kids come to you from all different backgrounds. You don't know what they go through right up front. And so that really shaped the way I thought about school. Finally, my good part was I happened to have really excellent science teachers from 5th grade through 12th grade. And that included my own mother, even though I could have died to have my mom as a science teacher. But she was one of those science teachers who some days they'd answer any question you had. And in 7th and 8th grade, one of the girls asked, "How do tampons work?" I thought I would die when my mom pulled out a beaker, filled it with water, opened up a tampon, put it inside so that everybody could observe. But that is what kids want to know things. They want to know things that aren't just in the book. They want their everyday life to be explained. And it's much better to have them discover it. I'll never forget that experiment that she showed us. I just wish it hadn't been my own mother. But, we had a high school science teacher who would bring in, when they slaughtered cows, would bring in the cow eyeballs and let us dissect them. So I don't know. It's a lot. The things I remember are the things we physically did in the classroom. So I shall shut up and I'm going to pass this off to Casey.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my best experience with science would probably be 4th grade. We did like a lot of hands-on stuff, and that's how I learned the best, is through hands-on. The worst was probably 5th grade. We just did everything out of the book. Like we'd copy definitions out of the book and then like write sentences using them, and we didn't do hardly anything hands-on. And so as a teacher, I hope that I can incorporate, like, I know we still have to use the book, but like, incorporate more hands-on when you can, and be able to think of things like with what your mom did, as just be able to show them if they have random questions, think of a way to show them.
Right. What are you most excited, or what are you most nervous about as far as teaching science goes?
Maybe not so much science, but just like with how it is right now with the technology and everything. I feel like you're not able to really see everyone's reaction. Like I can only see 4 people on my screen, so I feel like you can't really see everyone's face. You can't see, or not everyone can pop in and say what they're thinking.
I agree that it makes it really hard to teach, and it makes it very hard to relate.
And I feel like with elementary, it's really hard too, because some of those kids don't really use a computer. They mainly just use their phone. So
good. Let's see. So who's beside of you on the screen? Who do you see?
Next to me is Abby.
All right, Abby.
Okay, hi.
Hello.
My favorite science experiences, I think we're in kindergarten, and we would grow plants and we watched like the plants, sprout and then grow, and it was really cool because we felt like we had accomplished something. And then
Absolutely.
yeah, I found a caterpillar one time and I was able to bring it into school because I went to a really small school. So they let me bring in the caterpillar and we watched it like eventually hatch into a butterfly. And that was really, really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I was kind of a science nerd when I was little. Like I loved bugs. I loved everything insects. And mom was like, "Why won't you just play with Barbie dolls?" But I was always like collecting bugs. But I guess that kind of goes into like in the older grades. I switched schools and then I never had a teacher who was like really specialized in science. So my science education just wasn't good after that. We just did a lot of like vocabulary like out of the books and we didn't do a lot of experiments or anything interactive. So when I came to college and we were doing like biosphere in those classes, the teacher would say like, this is a review from like high school, but to me it was new because we had never like had very good science classes.
Right.
So yeah, so I guess when I think about teaching science, sometimes it makes me nervous just because my foundation in science wasn't the best. Like it wasn't as good as it could have been, like in high school and middle school.
That is completely understandable. Abby, who do you see on the screen?
Karis.
Okay. So most everyone here knows I was homeschooled. So I didn't have like your typical science class. Let's do discussions and let's do definitions and that kind of thing. But I did have various siblings doing random things in my house at the same time. My sister would collect bugs all the time. I could not stand them. But we had like these little containers with nets and she'd have like stink bugs or caterpillars or woolly mammoths, pretty much anything she could find. And then we'd like watch how they'd grow and she'd feed them. And then I personally preferred blowing stuff up and lighting stuff on fire. Yeah, kind of goes along with my family. Both my parents like setting things on fire in science classes too. So that was my favorite thing to do. I'm worried about like interacting with all of the students at the same time, like keeping their attention and keeping them focused on the same thing. Because I know kids tend to like wander and not want to do all the same thing at the same time, or you can't like get them engaged at the same time to do something.
That's very legitimate. And I wish we could have the kids in for science after school because it really gives you like a way to cut your teeth before you just drop into student teaching. I hate that we don't get that for you guys. I hate that it's just Zoom. But I understand that fear. That's very legitimate. Karis, who do you see on screen?
Everyone.
Somebody.
Emily.
Okay, so as long as I can remember, I really liked science. It just kind of sticks with me, and I like all the like weird science puns and all that fun stuff. One of the earliest things I can honestly remember is probably, I remember the other class in kindergarten doing the butterflies. They'd raise monarch butterflies and set them free. We dissected owl pellets. Oh gosh, I don't even remember what all we did, but I really liked science. In high school, I had really good science teachers. My biology teacher was crazy. What else? I hated physics. I was so bad at it. I really liked the hands-on stuff too. I'm excited to teach science and do like the experiments and like make those kids like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. What makes me the most nervous about teaching science is that like the kids won't be as excited about it as I am, and I'm just like there like looking crazy, and then they're
I get that. That's okay. Your enthusiasm will catch on. You're always going to have a couple of kids who are like too cool for school, but that's okay. It's okay. They will respect and react to that kind of enthusiasm.
Mhm.
All right, Emily, could you pick the next person, please?
I don't think Ashley's gone.
Hi.
Hi, Ashley.
So, fun fact, science is actually my favorite subject. So, when it comes to like bad experiences, the only thing I can really think of is like when we had to just do book work because I hated it. All we did was write definitions, and I was like, I really want to do something though. Like, I want to learn something. I don't want to just be writing definitions the whole class.
Right.
But like ever since I remember, like science just has always been one of my favorite things. I used to want to be a paleontologist when I was little. So I have like a bunch of like dinosaur books and fossil books. But as favorite experiences go, my 5th grade teacher at the end of the year, as like a little special treat, she designed her whole classroom as a crime scene, like the entire classroom. And there was like clues and like little evidence, like you can do stuff with the microscope. Can't talk today. And you had to solve the crime, and it was just, we took a whole week just to do it, and it was so much fun because it was very hands-on. There was no book work involved. It was just hands-on. As far as like teaching science, I want to try to stray as far from the book as I can a little bit, but still incorporating it when it needs to, because I think science is a very good hands-on learning kind of type. So kids will probably learn more through doing something involving science than just reading about it, I feel like.
You are in the right place. You are definitely in the right place. And that's what we're all going to focus on throughout the semester. Good, Ashley.
Yeah, my dad, he's a chemical engineer, so me and him just talk about science all the time. So I know a lot, to say the least.
I love it. Let's see, would you pick the next victim?
Let's go with my buddy Lakin.
Hi, Lakin.
I saw that one coming. So I don't really remember much from elementary school, but I know that my favorite part of science in high school was anatomy. I was like a complete freak over it. We were dissecting stuff all the time, watching all these really cool videos, and just like the hands-on stuff, just like everybody else is talking about, it just really stuck with me. And my least favorite part of science was also from high school. It was my freshman year. I had a teacher that didn't really want to be there, and I don't think she really knew what she was doing, so she just played Bill Nye videos every day.
Aw.
Yeah. I mean, I like Bill Nye, but not every day. And I'm most excited about teaching science just because I like to make it more memorable than my elementary school experience, because like I said, I don't remember anything. But I'm also nervous about not making it memorable enough.
Well, don't judge yourself too harshly, and hopefully we will build a good unit that you can take with you and teach your first year out of the blocks. Lakin, who else do we want to pick on?
Let's go with Noah Tori.
I was really confused there for a second. I was like, oh, Noah. This is Banjo also
Oh,
hanging out today. Okay, turn it up. I liked science growing up. I had a pretty healthy relationship with it. I'm trying to think on a specific experience that I had. I was also a really, really shy kid. Like, it was crazy. I had to do exercises with my mom just to like get me to communicate with people, and it was something that was like a challenge growing up. So like the hands-on things with science kind of freaked me out. Just because like working with people was definitely out of my comfort zone for a long time.
Yeah.
So in 5th grade, we had to like work in groups to build an exhibit. And I was like with my group and everything was going well, but I just like, I don't know, I did not like what was happening. So at the end of class, I went to the teacher privately and was like, hey, can I do this by myself? And she was like, yeah, that's fine. So I built my own exhibit, which I really enjoyed doing. It was really fun. And we got to present them, which is weird because I always liked presenting. I never had a problem talking in front of people. It was just like with people, which is weird. And I felt really bad because those girls who I was working with was like, wait, like what's going on? So that was kind of like best experience, but also kind of like most awkward and weird.
I was gonna say that's like, yeah, you're making me feel awkward.
Yeah. So I don't know. I really enjoy science,
Good.
but yeah, I didn't like experiments and things that it stressed me out. Even like growing up and going through college and things, it's something that is interesting, and I think like that's the way to go about science, but it can also cause stress for students. So going into my classroom, I definitely want to keep that in mind and kind of incorporate consistency for students when going through those different procedures. And then what makes me nervous? I think what Casey said about the technology is definitely something that is worth like taking time to learn about, and something that definitely makes me nervous, as well as like safety precautions. I mean, conducting experiments with kids, like, and you're responsible for everyone. So just making sure that you can keep an eye on everyone and make sure not only that they're on task, but that they're okay
Not on
and like
fire.
safe. Yeah, exactly. So,
I got you.
yeah.
No, that yeah, that is frightening because especially like as they get older, even when I was teaching at the elementary grade level, and I'm old. I've done this for a long time, but I don't know if you know this. You can't keep your, oh, what are those called? 9-volt batteries, like the ones that kids put on their tongues, or adults, whichever. And you cannot keep those near steel wool because you start a fire. Karis, something you might want to know. And yeah, I had a 4th grader decide to throw my 9-volt battery into my little ball of steel wool. So things that you learn. Things that
Yeah,
you
for
learn.
sure.
And then from then on, of course, the kids wanted to like watch me do it. At least it kept them from starting fires in my classroom. So yeah, I get that. Safety is definitely a concern. Right next to Noah, I see Key.
Hi.
Hello, how are you doing?
Tired, but ready to be back. For me, science in elementary, I don't remember it a whole lot. I remember a lot of reading assignments and a lot of math assignments, but we didn't really start doing science until like 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Though I do remember like the only science we did in 1st grade was a butterfly experiment where all of us got our own butterfly. Well, it was a little caterpillar, and we had our own little net to keep it in, and then we watched it grow up, and then we went and released them outside. And it was a big class event that the teacher did. I even have the picture still of what she took of us releasing them together. I only remember that. Everything else just kind of, maybe we did weather stuff, but I don't really remember it.
Right.
Do have a lot of bad memories, but that's because of disability wise. not a lot of science teachers would understand because labs you'd miss. And then I had one teacher that was just really bad with it, and it made me kind of hate science for a while because
Right.
she literally kind of pushed me and would make me take tests when I wasn't ready, and would act like I hadn't done assignments when I was trying to do them. And then I had the opposite, a teacher that was so amazing that he let me come in and do experiments on my lunch break, and which was great for me because I prefer doing experiments by myself.
Okay.
You know, like I had like a big toss up, you know, I had one that was horrible and one that was awesome. And I'm hoping when I have my classroom that I really want to incorporate science a lot more than my elementary teachers did. And I feel like my nephew's elementary teachers are, especially right now with COVID and stuff. She tries to do a science lesson once a week, but I feel like it's not really a lesson. It's having them watch a video. And I want them to be able to do experiments and have fun. And I'm nervous though about making sure I can get enough science in there and making sure they're learning and having fun.
Oh, that's a concern that I see when I observe other elementary classrooms. You know, even with veteran teachers, I see them not incorporate. Now there are science standards at every grade level, so you know it's
Yeah.
required, and they like save it as a treat. I'm like, you wouldn't dare save reading as a treat. You know, there are ways to incorporate,
Yeah.
you know, and to capture the kids' curiosity at that grade level and say, you know, use the science to hook them into the reading, use the science to hook them into the math. So those will be things we work on. I don't think I've heard from Scotland.
Hello.
Hello.
So in elementary school, I have this vivid memory of one of my friends asking me what my favorite subject is, and I said science, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I love science too." And I don't really know what happened. I feel like early to late middle school, that just went away, and I think it's because science changed from being like this really cool thing that you learn about, like fun stuff, to like just bookwork, like vocab and tests and quizzes, and it wasn't fun anymore.
Right.
And then in high school, I had this really, really, really awesome biology teacher, and I just love him so much still to this day. And he just made me really excited to learn about the things he was teaching me about. So one of the things that I'm excited about is like having that opportunity to get students excited about science and nature. Like that's so awesome to me. But I remember in high school, labs always made me really nervous. For some reason, I feel like there's just this disconnect. Like I'd look at all the steps and instructions and I'd just be anxious that I'm like messing something up. So that makes me a little nervous because I'm scared that I'm gonna like give my nervousness to the students during labs. But hopefully
Like
I'll
a
be more,
Christmas present.
hopefully I'll be more comfortable once I get in there. So
You know, one thing I notice about a lot of pre-service teachers and early on in our teaching careers, it's things that are really simple. Like, I don't know, do I call that a beaker? Is that a test tube? You know, what's the name of this thing? You know, like little things that shouldn't hold you back that like really give people anxiety in the classroom because you think, oh gosh, I don't even know what to call this. How am I supposed to use it? That'll be something we address as well. Caitlin, have I heard from you?
No, not yet.
Okay, is she our last one?
I think so.
I think so too. All right, Caitlin, nice to meet you.
So, yeah, you too. I think more my, I guess, worst experience were definitely in elementary school. You and Key kind of explained exactly what I feel like happened to me. Like thinking about it, I feel like I honestly didn't get that much science content, especially in elementary school. I feel like it was definitely one of those things that it was like a treat, and we were very excited for every time we got it because we almost never did. Like we
Right.
just never really did much with it. And then I also remember like it always being, if we were to do any sort of like little lab, even in elementary school, I feel like I always remember it getting taken away because someone would do something they're not supposed to. So I feel like every time we got it, we always had like some kid in our class that would do something and we never actually ended up getting to do it. So I feel like then, and then when it got to sort of higher elementary, it was just book work. And then when I got to high school, I had a really great chemistry teacher. So she definitely got me interested in science. And I guess like with that, it colors my ideas about science. It kind of just showed me that like all the depth there is, because I guess not getting very much of that content going through elementary school, I thought it was just like any of the book work we did. Like it's just this, like it's vocab words. Like that's kind of what I saw it as. But when I had her, I just saw all the depth that was in it. And that of course made me more interested. Like I feel like there's always more and more that you can learn with it. So that's kind of how I see it now. I'm most excited, definitely what a lot of people said, to bring in more hands-on thing and stay away from the book as much as I can, because I remember when I did start to do that and like in high school, it was just so much better. And I just like, it clicked for me so much more. And I feel like that is most people, like when you can do something, it just clicks a lot easier and you can understand it a lot better. So that's definitely something that I want to do in my own classroom. And what makes me nervous is I've been talking to my friends about this, and this could really go for any subject, but I feel like specifically science, is when kids will ask me a question and I maybe like don't know the answer, especially with science. Like there's like all these theories and like things, and like they can like bring up something I don't even know, and like I'm not sure how I answer that. Like I don't know. I guess that's like a good thing as well, because we can have a discussion about it. But I guess that it makes me nervous thinking about that, like how I'll go about answering a question that I don't know the answer to.
And that might be just the way truthfully, all right, like I teach physics and AP environmental and earth science at the high school right now. But I've also taught like K through 6 science as a pull-out program. And when some of my physics students, who I swear must already be engineers, ask me questions, I always am like, well, what do you think about that? What have you heard about that? That'll be something. Why don't you look that up, and then I'll talk to somebody too. I don't know.
That's what I said. I was like, I guess I'll just ask them to look it up and we'll talk about it tomorrow, because like I wouldn't know what to say. But yeah.
Right. And that's like, oh, that's such a good question. Let's both look it up. I don't know. I think kids really appreciate, honesty more than we give them credit for. Not that we want them to think that we don't know anything, but, just to be honest with them. So I've kept you on here probably long past your due dates. I can always tell when people are getting a little blurry-eyed from Zoom meetings. Like I said, we do have some homework. I'm going to have you draw a science classroom. Just your dream classroom, how it would look. Please don't worry about pandemic guidelines. You do not have to have, 6 feet apart from your kids. Just whatever you're thinking about. And I'm going to show you just real quick before I let you go, the way my class is set up. Maybe.
Dr. McKean, I also have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I looked at the course schedule and it said bulletin board number 1 is due January 21st. Is that just for Abby or is that for everyone?
That is just for Abby.
Okay.
She is bulletin board number 1.
I was just making sure because there was no other numbers listed.
Well, yeah, I wanted to wait and share with you guys like your topics, and then I'm going to go back into the activity page and put different due dates for you guys.
Okay.
Don't worry about it when only one of you gets a grade at a time. It'll be fine.
All right. Thank you.
Let me share one last screen with you. So if you go into Blackboard, you'll see this is set up a little bit different than I do Exosphere, just because I'd set this one up, from scratch myself, so that you have your syllabus and your course calendar there. Your science unit folder, please don't even worry about this yet, but everything that you need for your science unit will be in here, broken down into different pieces so that it's not just one giant unit that you hand in. You still work on it in task stream, but hand in pieces of it to me. You have a homework folder. Not all my due dates are changed yet, so I'll fix those. And you'll see Draw Your Own Science Classroom is due on Thursday. And get it to me before class starts. All you're going to do is attach a picture of your beautiful classroom. Looking ahead, reflection 1, which is kind of what we talked about just now. So I help you get the ball rolling, and then reflection 1 is due a week from today. Please remember it's 2.5 to 3 pages, typed double spaced. And this one does not have to have any kind of APA citations in it, obviously, because this is your personal experience. So there will be other assignments that are made available to you later. It's just the first 2, those are the things that you should be looking at right now. And I will put the learning board up so that it's easier to access for everybody. Now, I do put the very last, and I haven't done this yet, I put the very last date for the bulletin boards or the learning boards. So even though, who did we say was number 1? Abby? Even though yours is due, it won't be due until for 2 weeks from today. Even though it's not due until then, the due date for the assignment is going to say like April 20th or whatever our last day of classes are, April 19th. So as long as you get it to me the week that it's due, it'll be fine. You're not going to have a late grade unless you're like really behind. Let me go back to course content. Your course readings. So instead of a manual, I have your readings here, and I'll tell you basically what to read when. Like right now, it's not important to look at the readings yet. And your science standards, the learning cycle. And so I do have some things here that we'll go through. That's our focus for the first part of the class, is the learning cycle. So that's where you find everything in my Blackboard. And if you all don't have any other questions, I'm going to let you go. And I'll see you back here, same Zoom time, same Zoom place. All right, guys, have a good afternoon.